Hey guys, welcome to CG2s Plus. My name is Harrison, and this is part 2 of our epic 3-parter on how to deal with clients in a real-world situation. If you haven't seen part 1, you have to go back and watch it, or else you're going to have no idea what's going on right now. Moving on from part 1, we've got our feedback from the client. If you'll remember, we sent off 3 style frames to show the client to get feedback on. We did a rough animation of what we wanted in Cinema 4D, and then now it's just a matter of cleaning that up and then presenting that to the client. We showed our style frames. They got back to us. Uh, Basically, they have 3 points right now. They want a hotter purple on the bottom right, drop the spine looking thing in the background, and want more going on the left side in frame 2. This is the thing. If you've never dealt with a client before, this is the kind of feedback you're going to get. These are all real things that I've gotten from clients. They don't understand what we do. They don't understand MoGraph, opacity, position scaling, anything like that. So you'll never get anything that says, hey, you need to drop this logo's opacity down 10% and add it and put it as an add layer. I mean, you're never going to get that. Instead, what you're going to get is you're going to get, weird feedback like this, like hotter purple on the bottom right. So you just got to figure out what it is they really want when they say stuff like that. And if you don't know, please ask. The worst thing in the world is to proceed forward on an assumption that isn't true. So if we look at it and say drop the spine looking thing, well, I know what they're talking about. They're talking about that metal structure that we tucked in the back behind the logo. The only problem is I don't know if they want anything else there instead. So what I would do is I would contact the client and say, hey, I saw that you wanted me to get rid of it. Is there anything else you wanted to put there? Because it kind of anchors the design as far as everything else that's going on right there. And if they say, no, we want to see it without it, then I know that I can do it, just drop it entirely, and then move on with it and see what they think. But if they want something else there, I have to make sure that that's what they want when I present it to them, or else they're going to be upset. So I called them back and then found out that they did want to drop it, but instead they want to put something else there. So we'll figure out something better to put there that doesn't quite look the same as what it is that they're looking, or what it is that they're seeing. I know it's weird, but I mean, it's easier for me because I'm the one that's making up all this as we go along, but this is how it really works in the real world. So the sooner that you can realize that there's a lot more to this than pushing buttons, especially if you want to get paid, you really got to understand how to deal with people, especially people that don't understand what it is we do. I mean, especially in motion design, nobody understands this. My parents still don't understand what it is I do. But, graphic design, when I do that stuff, freelance, that's a little bit easier because people understand brochures and font and things like that. But, 3D, it's still too new. People don't really understand that. So you got to make sure that you play, translator, I guess is the best way to do it. And that's entirely, that's intuition and experience. Nobody can teach you that. No one can teach you, when a client says this, they really mean this. So the best thing you can do is if you are ever, and I mean this, if there's one piece of advice that you need more than anything, if you want to get paid to do this, it is never assume it's what the client wants. Always ask. No client ever gets sick of, they do get sick of 50 inane questions, but if it's a question that needs clarification, they want to give it because they want to make sure that they're definitely going to get what it is they want. So with that in mind, we're just going to go ahead and get started. Alright, so here's our project. Full disclosure, I already recorded this part, and as I was compiling the pieces together, I found out that the audio on this crapped out on me. So this is going to be just a real quick one, and you're going to see stuff on this project that I've already built that hasn't happened yet, so hello from the future. Anyway, like the client said, what they want us to do is put a hotter purple in the bottom right of our project right here. Let's get the frame 2 here. They want a hotter purple here, they want us to kill the spine thing, and they want something going on over here. So we have our animation set up, we're going to render our animation. What we're going to do is we're going to drop the spine thing first. What I like to do when it comes to things like this is I like to make a null object. I name it bin, and then copy it to the bottom, and then I drop in whatever it is I want to get rid of. This way I save it for later, because I never know, later in the project I may want to go back, and I may not want this exact thing, but I may want all the parameters of it, or I may want bits and pieces of it. Like I may not want this cloner, but I want this object, so I can just drag it out. So that way I don't delete it, and it's still there. And these project files never really get all that big, so I don't have to worry about that. Next up, I want to put something back here. So one idea I had was to use Same cloner object, but I'm going to make some techno cubes here. And this is really simple to make. I just made a cube. Whoops, nope, get rid of that. Sorry. I just made a cube. Let me bring it out real quick. That's just what? 75 on the X, 75 on the Y, and then 5 on the Z. And just rounded the corners. Put it in a cloner object that's a grid array that is, let me go here. 3, 4, and 4, and then I spread it out on the X and the Y and the Z. You don't have to worry about the animation yet. I'll get into that in a second. Then I put a random effector on it. As you can see, it randomizes the scale and the position. So now I have this going on. I want to animate it on. I think I actually have it where it animates on. Yeah, that's later in the project. So the way I animate it is I just animated just the Y position scale right or size right there. As you can see here, the keyframes. As you can see, it increases as it goes, so that way the cubes, I'm sorry, it decreases as it goes, so that way the cubes get closer together. So there's that. What else? Hold on just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I was just going back and referring back to the animation I did. Okay, so we got this all set up. Do a render real quick. There's a light I added to this scene. I put in a null called background. I added a light to this scene, tucked everything into different nulls and everything. I like to have my all my environment textures, or all my environment pieces and parts, like luminance objects and lights, into enviro null. Then I have my background, which is these guys right here. The glass bars will go in the background. The matte object, don't worry about that. I'm going to get into this in a minute, or in the next tutorial, so you can just ignore that. I'm really sorry about this. I just wish the audio didn't crap out like it did. So now I got my enviro I got my enviro and everything. I'm going to split this up. I want to have my background in compositing, or a compositing tag on that, and a compositing tag on, well, all three of these. I'm just going to turn this off. Alright, what I want to do is I want to render the CG Tuts Plus logo, which is the CG Tuts Plus logo, and I want to render the cubes too, separately from the background environment. I want to render these separately so I can blend these cubes and these tubes, these square tubes. I can render these separately. I can blend them in After Effects a lot better than I could with the logo, because the logo, I mean, the logo's got to stand out. The logo has to be the most prominent thing. The logo has to be the most prominent thing in this entire animation. I mean, it has to stand out. That's the reason why it's on there. So I like to blend my logos completely different from the background. The cubes are fine because they have some, I mean, the way we textured them and the way we lit them, I mean, they don't really stand out too much and they blend kind of well on their own. But normally I would have the logo separate. Plus, I mean, if I wanted to have a cube go in front of the logo, that becomes a whole different animal. Anyway, so now we have that set up. All right, we go in here. We just want to make those changes for the client. And let me grab the text file so I can reference this. All right, so we want a hotter purple in the bottom right, because right now they don't like how it's just kind of this beige-ish thing. So we're going to go into our LF disk, zoom in, and we're going to borrow a purple. We're going to borrow, let's borrow this one. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And what else do they want? They want us to drop the spine looking thing, which we did, and we added something else. They want more going on the left. So what we'll do is we'll duplicate this. We'll use unmult so that way it blends. Then we're going to grab it, move it over to the side here. We'll turn off anamorphic, hit the scale, and then we're just going to increase the Y a whole lot. Because what I want is, I don't want like, take down the outside ramp width. I don't want it to be like a flare. I just want it to be this spot of color on the left side of the frame. You know, I mean, it's just a personal thing with me. I like having flares resting on things. So I don't like having flares just, you know, sitting out in the middle of nowhere, like that. I just don't like that. It just doesn't appeal to me. I mean, there are certain circumstances where it can work, but I just don't really like it by and large. So anyway, so there we have it. We have our light on the bottom, or we have a little bit of color on the bottom right. We have some color on the left. We replace the spline. So what we're going to do now is we're going to solo out the CG Tuts Plus logo. Make sure we're rendering that and not the background. Preview render, looks good, no background or anything back there. We're just going to get rid of the matte object altogether. There we go, that looks good. Alright, now we're just going to go into render settings, output, NTSC, DV widescreen, all of our frames, 0 to 150. We're going to save them into, as you can see, I've already rendered everything. We'll just save them in animated results because I screwed up the spelling. We'll save it right there. Oops. CG Tools Plus logo, and we'll just go ahead and hit render, and then I'll be back with you guys from the past when this is completed. Alright, thank you. Alright, that render is complete, so now we're going to exit out of here. Go into our CG Tools Plus logo, we're going to turn off Scene by Camera on this one, turn on Scene by Camera for the background, and now we should just see the background. Perfect. Alright, now we go into our render settings. Save. Did I really just spell it like that? You can't be serious. Oh, wow, okay. Oh, I should have made another folder for this. Alright, I'm just going to call this background animation. There, that's spelled correctly. CG Toots background. Okay. There we go. And now we'll hit render. And I'll be right back when this is finished. Alright, so we got this render finished right here. We're going to go into After Effects now and import it. So 3D tutorial, 3D, animated results. Can't believe I did that. Straight, alpha, whoops. Hey, it's a clock. Results, background animation, here's what I'm looking for. Out we go. Alright, so here's our logo. We're just going to take the logo animation, tuck that in right there. And take the background animation, tuck that in to the side. And turn this off. And here's our animation! Our flare is way off. That's not an issue. We can animate that later. But everything else is in there. Alright, let's start let's start doing the meat. Let's get rid of the logo. Let's bring in the background. Man, okay, hold on just one second. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Apparently when I say I'll be right back because I'm recording a tutorial, my friends think, hey, I should point out that I have a laptop with IE6 still on it. Sorry about that. Anyway, okay, so now we have this. We gotta get it blended in the background. This looks awful. Let's see. Let's do a soft light. That's a little too much. Take it down. What if we do a hard light? Nah, it's way too overdone. Save it. Let's do overlay's not gonna look very good. It's still gonna be too dark. All right, let's make this an add layer. It's gonna be ghosted a little bit, and then we're gonna take it down. Duplicate it, then we're going to put an overlay on that add layer. It's still going to be a little too much. We're going to put a hard light on that. So this is the thing when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's still kind of touch and go, you know? It's kind of feeling yourself out, or feeling your way around. That looks alright. Let's duplicate this, make this another add layer. How's that look? Still looks trite. I mean, it loses so much, you know? I want to keep the highlights, but lose everything else. So let's do a linear dodge. No. Classic color? No. That's still gonna, yeah. Alright. Oh, I got an idea. Why don't we do this? Alright, we're gonna take this, we're gonna do transition. We're gonna make a linear wipe. Let's solo this so we can see it. Normal, perfect. Tuck it like that, increase the transition. We're gonna mask it off right about there. Now what we're gonna do is we have that masked off. Now we just got these guys here. We're gonna make this an add again. Now let's see how that looks. What about an overlay? Nah, still not getting the whites that we want. Hard light? If we duplicate that a couple times. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Alright, linear light. Well, that's giving us the streaks that we want there. Alright, let's see how that looks with the logo. Nope, too distracting. Alright, vivid light. Now let's put that back down as a soft light and increase the opacity a bit. There we go. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Now let's take the add layer down a little bit more. oh, you know what? Let's take it out because we're getting this cool highlight right on the side that I want to keep. Now if we take this down, it disappears completely. So let's take the hard light to right about there. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, now to animate this flare, which are keyframes all over the place. We don't need this keyframe, and we don't need this keyframe. Well, let's keep them there. We can animate when we get in. Alright, so here's our giant flare. We're going to make a matte object so we can animate this in, but here it is coming on. We're going to keep it like that, and we're going to bring it down as the logo comes on. So I'm going to tuck this over on the left, and I'm going to move this to the right a little bit more. There we go. Now it moves down with the logo, lands in the same spot, and then till about here. I want this to be nested on the bottom of the logo. Remember, because I don't like, I mean, this is personal preference for me. It's going to be different for everybody else, but I just do not like flares that just sit out there. Let's take it down to 0.4. Yeah, because we want it to be hot, but we don't want it to overcome. Oh, 0.34. How's that look? That looks okay. Alright, we want it to be hot, but we don't want to destroy this thing. Alright, so there's that. I'm moving across. Oh, we're too low. Alright, let's remember that this is moving with everything else. Alright, let's solo the flare and the logo. See how it looks. Alright. Looks pretty good, but let's move this guy over so that way our keyframe, when it's coming up, we want it to a little bit further down the line. I don't want it to come out until this guy starts moving, and until then we're going to animate, we're going to brighten this flare a lot. There we go. Oh, shoot. I didn't keyframe the brightness. There we go. U to bring it back up. Bring up our keyframes. There we go. Alright. Keyframe 100. Let's brighten it up a little bit. There we go. In fact, you know what? I like the idea of having this all the way on the left side. Let's have it move right to left. Let's have it move opposite what everybody's used to. Everybody's so used to flares moving left to right, because that's how we read. So let's see. That's some dynamism to it. Or that looks pretty dynamic. Yeah, that's English. There. That was pretty good. Alright. Now we need to make a couple matte objects. So we get rid of our background, and we have our CG2 Plus logo. We need a couple matte objects. First things first, well, coming in isn't going to be a big deal, because that's just going to be animating everything on, but going out, actually, you know what, we're not going to need any matte objects, now that I think about it, because we soloed the logo itself, so now what we have to do is just fade out the background. Huh. That'll be easy. Okay, so we're going to make a, let's see here, let's make a, let's try, I don't want to do this. Let's make a regular layer. We're going to call this background fade. There we go. Put this on top of the background. Okay, and I want to make this a, it's a silhouette alpha? Right? Yeah. Okay. So let's have the logo animating on. Animate opacity. Logo animate sets, flares come out. Now we're going to animate the opacity again. Now what I did here was, it's a simple, it's It's a cheap trick, but it'll get the job done. Basically, by setting a layer, putting silhouette alpha, silhouette alpha, what we're telling After Effects is basically everywhere this layer is, which is right now the entire comp, plus whatever the opacity is, I want that to be